Let me welcome you to our public forum today on Thai politics, from local to national, implications from Bangkok's governor election, which was held 2 days ago. As we all know, Dr. Chatchat Sithipan won a resounding victory. We are proud to say here on campus that Dr. Chatchat was a professor at Chulalongkorn University, Faculty of Engineering, before entering politics. Below him in the election results are the crutch of other candidates from other parties as well as independents. Voter turnout was over 60%, and I'm happy to say that the Bangkok vote was seen as free and fair. The results are likely to stand, and there will be no party dissolution or candidate disqualification. We hope that these trends continue for the national election, which must be held by early next year. Bangkok is not Thailand, but Bangkok is a lot of Thailand. By this, I mean what happened in Bangkok does not affect what happened in Thailand. That's why we are here today to tease out some of the key dynamics and takeaway from the gubernatorial election. What does Ajahn Chatchat's victory means for Bangkok and for Thailand? And what to make of the other candidates' number of votes? To do so, we have invited a panel of academic experts and analysts to help to dissect and digest the results. Let me thank them for being here with us. Associate Professor Viengrat Netipo, the faculty staff of the Faculty of Political Science, Dr. Nilamon Serisakul, the Director of Urban Design and Development Center, and Assistant Professor of the Department of Urban and Regional Planning of the Faculty of Architecture, Ms. Panika Vanit, Executive Committee of Progressive Movement, the former Member of Parliament, and Dr. Pit Pongsawat, Head of Department of Government and Assistant Professor of the Faculty of Political Science, Chulalongkorn University, and Dr. Pachak Kongkirti, Associate Professor in Politics and Government, Faculty of Political Science at Thammasat University. The forum will begin with Ajahn Pachak, Ajahn Viengrat, and Kun Panika for an initial 10 minutes each for their overviews and assessments. After the first 3 sets of remarks, Ajahn Pit will be present his take before Ajahn Nilamon gives her view on what needs to be done for Bangkok's administration in the near term, including her suggestion for the new governor. I personally think this will be a stimulating event. It is a momentous time for Thailand to have a clean election with such a clear result. I hope this public forum will help us better understand how it comes about and how we can build on it for general election ahead. Many thanks for joining, and I hope you enjoy the panel. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. ขอบคุณครับอาจารย์เอก Let me start. We have until about 11:30, so there's a lot to digest and to dissect and then digest. I want to thank all the speakers again for joining us. Ajahn Pachak from Thammasat, Ajahn Viengrat here from here, Kun Panika from the Move Forward, Future Forward camp, and then Ajahn Pit, Ajahn Nilamon. As you know, political scientists and also politicians, I would think, we love elections, because not only you get to vote, but you get the. Kun Chen, can we put up the results, please? But you get to interpret the results, what they mean, and the numbers are very clear, but also ambiguous too. So we're here to kind of tease out some of the main themes First, I would note that we've had a pretty clean campaign period, pretty clean. There's been no violence, and there's been some kind of maybe a bit of a smear campaign, sort of got a little bit dirty towards the end in the last stretch, but by and large, pretty clean campaign. I also noticed there's been a kind of a unity, solidarity, camaraderie among the candidates, right? There was one lunch they had together, all the main candidates, which is something I think is a spirit that we want to build on. It's very recognizable. I think a lot of people look at Bangkok election for Bangkok. We haven't had an election in Bangkok for nearly 10 years. 10 years, nearly 1 decade, a long time. So a lot of anticipation. Also, people are anticipating what this means, what this augurs for the general election that we will have to have because time is running out by early next year. I'll just come down this in this way, and I think there are two directions that I would ask Ajahn Prachak to kick off. Ajahn Prachak, Professor Prachak is a well-known political scientist, and also he's given a number of comments and interviews and written many articles about Thai politics, but in particular with reference to this Bangkok election. Two directions. One is the overall, your overall take. What does this mean? And I noticed, it has been noticed that Dr. Chachat, by the way, as Ajahn Ek said, he used to be a professor here. His twin brother, is the dean of the Faculty of Medicine and the director of the July Hospital. So, these are the twins. So I think it runs in the family. They know how to lead or get into leadership positions. It's been recognized that he's run a clean campaign. He hasn't had anything bad to say about all the other candidates. That is phenomenal in the Thai system. Normally there'd be a lot of mudslinging, a lot of smear campaigns, personal attacks. But Dr. Chachat, Ajahn Chachat, I don't think he has attacked anyone so far. So I think maybe Ajahn Prachak will start in two directions. One is the overall take from the numbers here. I think, Kun Chen, can we put up the numbers again, please? Just leave it there, please. Thank you. So you can see the top vote getters are very clear. But then the rest, there's some pretty small margins, Ajahn Prachak. So maybe your overall take on that, and then, in the second way, maybe what does it mean? What does it indicate or imply? To what extent this matters for the general election? Ajahn Prachak.
Thank you, Ajahn Thitinan, and thank you, Isis, for inviting me. Good morning, everyone. I want to follow the footsteps of the new governor. He is quite ambitious and very comprehensive in his policy platform. He has 200 policies that he wants to do within 4 years. So I have 10 minutes. I want to make a key 10 takeaways. So it will be a quick and brief observation. First of all, I think no surprise for winners. He lead the poll in every poll. And I think personal factor matter very much. If you look at the long history of the Bangkok governor elections, the political parties play quite minor roles. Normally, people choose candidates from personal qualification. The only time that change this pattern is during the color-coded conflict, right? From 2004 to around 2013, in that time, 3-4 Bangkok governor elections decided by political party standpoint and ideological conflict. But if you look at the long history, personal qualification important very much. And Ajahn Chachat, Kun Chachat, he stand out. He's don't forget that he's a prime minister candidate before. So Now he shift from national to local election. And even though he's a technocrat, but he uses a simple language. He can connect to the people, no tainted image, very knowledgeable, determined, hardworking. He is quite a perfect candidate, especially for Bangkokians who love this kind of, clean, knowledgeable, technocratic politicians. But plus, he also has a democratic credentials, right? So he got the support from the young voters and also the Pheu Thai and Red Shirt supporters also. So he kind of, got support from everyone. It's like a rainbow coalition behind him. Remind me of, I want to make a quick note, remind me of Jokowi of Indonesia, but in a Swiss way, right? President Jokowi, he popular as a governor, and then he is a springboard for him to be a president. But now Mr. Chacha start from, prime minister candidate and now become Bangkok governor. We have to wait and see. If he very successful in his first term, he can be a very strong contender for the next PM. Now many people love him to be a next prime minister. The second point, surprise for me is Aswin, Kun Aswin, empathic loss. The vote that he gained, quite less than many people expected. And the fact that he came fifth, as an incumbent, and now he came fifth, that's quite a big loss for him, okay? But it means this time it's clear that the Bangkok people want a change, a clear change. So both incumbent, Kun Aswin and Sakonthi as a deputy governor, right? They gain less vote. Even two of them combined gain less vote than Mr. Chacha. So it's a vote to change the status quo in Bangkok politics. The third point, for me, Palang Pracharat Party is the biggest loser in this election. The party gained only 2 councillors, right? Someone said because they didn't, run any candidate for the governor. That's true. But the fact that you are a ruling party and you have more, the largest number of seats in Bangkok in the last general election, why didn't you, submit candidate? That's still strange for me, right? The fact that they cannot find any strong candidate to run on their behalf is quite telling, right? It shows the decline of the popularity of the Palang Pracharat Party itself, and will not bode well for the prospect of the upcoming elections for them. The fourth point, Pheu Thai remains strong. As a political party, they like a political machine, and this time, okay, they win more seats, right, in the councillor competition. The fifth point, Move Forward party perform quite well. But that's not surprise for me, because if you look at the general election in 2019, they gained the most popular vote in Bangkok. Okay? And if you look around the country, they performing well in urban district, that their stronghold. Outside Bangkok, they're doing well in the city areas. So this show the strength and a solid support of the urban population, young, vibrant, population toward the Move Forward party. So, and another clear sign is that Pheu Thai and Move Forward party, now they control majority of Bangkok politics, right? It's not surprise because in 2019 elections, both parties combined, they gained most vote and most seats in Bangkok MPs elections. So this can be quite, a good moral for them in both parties in the upcoming election, on the conditions that they have to stop, fighting with each other and try to find a way to work together. They need each other if they want to form a coalition. The sixth point, I think the Democrat Party did okay, better than national elections in 2019 that they gained 0 seat. Now they have 9 seats for councillors. Okay, but if you compare not to national election, but compare, their performance to previous Bangkok elections in the past, that's quite a big disappointment for the Democrat, because they used to control, both the governor and the city councillors, right? Bangkok is their stronghold. Now the candidate, Kun Suchachavi, even though he came second, but the vote that he gained is, less than the vote that the party gained in 2019 elections. So it shows again that the Democrat Party nowadays is no longer a dominant force in Thai politics, right? You have a period from 1990s to up to 2014. Democrat Party is, a major party along the Thai Party of Thaksin. Now in national election in 2019, they came as a 4th, largest party. Now in this Bangkok governor election, they lost, right? The 7th point, now Thailand politics in general move beyond the two-party system. It's clear in both national election in 2019 and in this election in Bangkok, it shows again. Now it's more fragmented. It's party system, multi-party system, composed of several groups, The 8th point, we saw the fragmentation of the conservative forces. You can see the four candidates who try to compete for the vote from the same pool of voters, right? Mr. Skonti, Mr. Asawin, Kun Rosana, and Kun Suchachavi. And they gain, roughly 200,000, and Kun Rosana gained even less than that. If you monitor closely their campaign, they fight with each other a lot, and a lot of smear campaigns among them. It shows a lack of unity among the pro-government supporters. And now they confuse who they should give support to, okay, in order to compete with Kun Chachat. And I think this fragmentation among pro-government and conservative forces will hurt them in the national elections. Because in the national election, in the district competition, we use the simple majority, first past the post system, right? If you, have 4 or 5 parties, and now, other people try to set up a new party too, right? I heard that Kun Skonti, he think of set up his own party in the upcoming election. It means, you will compete with each other a lot with narrow pool of voters. On the other side, the opposition parties, you have only two main parties compete with each other, Pheu Thai and the Move Forward Party. So they have more advantage in this sense. Okay, and now the two last point I want to make. Implication for the national elections. I think it's too soon to make any conclusion, and I want everyone to make don't jump to a quick conclusion. Kun Thaksin already came out and gave interview, said that, oh, the Democratic side is gonna win landslide in the upcoming elections. I'm still not sure because don't forget that first of all, Phum Jai Thai, a key party, didn't contend in this election, and they performed very well outside Bangkok. And in the national elections, you have to remember that each region, each province, they have their own political dynamics and their own vote base, different from Bangkok. Especially in the rural areas, the voting pattern is different. Voting behaviors are different. So you have to keep that in mind, okay? But of course, with this result, the momentum now is on the opposition side, the Pheu Thai and the Move Forward Party. Okay. Last point, I think we see the anti-government sentiment or the frustration. It is a vote with frustration that after 9 years, no elections, right? After the coup, there's no local elections. So now people want to send a signal. So it's not only vote for the governor, but I think it's a strong signal to the establishment and the status quo that we want change. And the big loss of Kun Aswin, I think put Kun Prayut, General Prayut in difficult position because both of them are on the same shoes. They are incumbent, right? Who stay in power for so long, but not a good track record, no clear success, popularity is going down. And by the next election, Mr. Prayut will stay in power as Prime Minister for 9 years. People might just simply want to change, want a new face, right? Want a new government, a new party to rule the country. So that's that. I think one last point. The Pheu Thai party can learn some lesson from this. I think they might need some character similar to Mr. Chachat for their prime minister candidate. Someone that, can be a hopeful candidate, run a positive campaign, quite moderate, and can attract support, not from a core supporter of Pheu Thai, but draw support from, swing voters, someone more neutral, even some who used to support the Democrat Party and conservative parties. Pheu Thai might need someone like Mr. Chachat if they want to win a landslide victory, if they want to defeat Prayut and Palang Pracharat in a resounding way. I think that's all my take. Thank you.
Thank you. ขอบคุณครับอาจารย์ อาจารย์ประจักษ์ I'm just going to follow up with a quick question. You mentioned the word rainbow. I think คุณชาติชาติ อาจารย์ชาติชาติ is like a rainbow guy, right? Because he has a lot of different constituencies, different columns, different supporters, support bases. Very hard to find some. He might be one of a kind, right? Very difficult for the national politics. But I just want to say, following up, use also the word landslide. The word landslide has become a loaded term now because Kun Thaksin uses it and Pheu uses it. So if you want to say cha-cha one big, you want to say resounding, thumping, crushing. But if you use landslide, it has an association, connotation with Pheu. But Ajahn, from your presentation, very comprehensive. Thank you very much. Does it mean that the election now, the incumbent regime is in trouble, aren't they? Kun Asawin, as you mentioned, he's fifth. He has very poor showing. If you look at the chart, and by the way, this table, there are 30 candidates, but these are the top 7 that we see in the news all the time. There are 2 camps, right, Ajahn Pachak? Number 1, number 3, and number 7 are kind of the, pro-change in different ways, different degrees. And then, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 6, they're kind of pro-status quo, right? In different ways. Conservative, and the other one you could say progressive, particularly number 3, right? So with this result, if you add up the numbers, I did a little bit of adding up. Basically, Ajahn, isn't it the same pattern? About 65% of the electorate, in this case Bangkok, 2/3 of the electorate that come out to vote, they choose reform, change, right? So the number 1, number 3, and number 7, they get about 65% of all the votes cast. So if I were the incumbent, I would think, wow, this is big trouble. So you think the election will be delayed, or it has to be held by next year. So I don't think we'll have an early election, right? And then do you foresee any funny business along the way to temper, to kind of deal with this trend?
Funny business. I'm not sure it will be funny, right? For example, the coup political. But I think even though they want to delay the election, but by next year, mid of next year, we have to hold election anyway, right? After finish the full terms, they cannot delay any further. And the coup will hurt the country and plunge the country into serious, I think, situation. Given, now COVID, the war in the world, food price, everything, I cannot imagine, but we cannot underestimate the lack of rationality of the Thai elite, right? When they make decision, if they fear that they're gonna lose, they're gonna lose power. But I think they should learn lesson from this Bangkok governor, right? They delay for so long, delay the election, and they chose a very poor timing for the Bangkok governor elections, right? The popularity of both prime minister and the government is going down, this year. If they hold Bangkok governor election in the same year, in 2019, we might saw different result. But now, holding this year, Pracharat cannot find a candidate, and I think now the status quo, the pro-status quo camp or conservative camps are in real trouble. Okay, if you perform well in the last 4 years or 5 years that you're in power, okay, you are in advantageous position. But if you stay in power for too long and you fail, you mismanage the economy and other, affairs, I think the voters just simply want to change. And this, I think, happen everywhere in every country, right?
Okay, thank you, Ajahn Pachak. We'll come back to you. And your point also about fragmentation on the conservative side. There's also fragmentation, I think, on the progressive side as well. And we'll come to that. You mentioned also about patronage and how Bangkok is not like the rest of Thailand. So we're going to come to Professor Ajahn Ringrat for your own kind of overview, but also maybe you can also cover a little bit the Pattaya result. In Pattaya, Bangkok, Ajahn Chachad is so popular. He is a standout. So he was not beholden to this patronage network, patronage politics that we have. And Professor Ringrat, by the way, has written a book. It's called Upatam Kam Krai. In English, it would be like whose patronage, or patronage for whom. And this book is out in the bookshelves, in the bookstores. So Ajahn Ringrat, to what extent can we, rely or count on these voting patterns for the general election outside Bangkok, where patron-client networks are entrenched and decisive? Ajahn Ringrat.
Thank you, Ajahn Dinan. It's good to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me and organizing this timely panel. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Ajahn Pachak, for your comprehensive assessment for this Bangkok election. For me, I prepare to point out two important points we learned from this election. I like to start from the first point. I would like to call this election the weak party system and strong candidate. And this is really related to the governor, the new government, the new governor, Dr. Chachad, who is very strong candidate, physically, mentally, and all, including his brain power. But I like to come to the weak party system. I think the book that Ajahn Thitinan mentioned, just published this month. I evaluate the politics under NCPO regime in the way how NCPO weakened political institutions, especially political party, and as a result, we are now under the weak political party system. I think that's the key point. What I mean by weak party system is that if we look at Thai politics, every time after election, we would look at the map of colors. And from 2001 onward, the colors matter. We could see how the red getting bigger and bigger in the north and northeast, how the blue still stronghold in the south and Mae Hong Son. And we would expect the next election would be how many provinces the red can conquer more and the blue could still hold themselves. Even up to the referendum in 2017 for constitution, we still can see the landscape of the color of no vote for constitution, didn't accept constitution in many northern and northeastern province, up until the recent election in 2019, that the color still mattered. However, we saw large area of Palang Pracharat, PPRP, that swallow all the red or some of the blue, because definitely, and I devoted one chapter to talk about what kind of means NCPO utilize in order to secure their voting electorates, including a lot of funny business, not very funny, but very dirty business, violence, money, and all, in order to secure. Nevertheless, they couldn't win majority, but somehow they could form a government, as you see. And Future Forward Party is the force of purely anti-coup and a kind of movement and very young and new party, which did not have a strong connection with voters like Pheu Thai that established long before. So now in this Bangkok election, I think we have to move away from the expectation of color election, the expectation of analyze in terms of parties and color, as Ajahn Prachak said the politics moved away from two party system. Definitely sure. But I would like to point out that from now on, we should get back to the methods that we used in 80s and 90s, which is it would be based on particular case by case, like strong candidate, money politics, patronage system. And this is also very true in city municipality elections of last year that I surveyed a few of the city municipalities. And this is also true at Pattaya. When you look at Pattaya, this is the case of dynasty politics, which is very strong. But when this dynasty family turned into party, Palang Chon party, so we could see the majority of Palang Chon party in 2011 election. But this no longer the party-oriented political analysis. It would be depend on case by case, and especially in local level, where not unlike Bangkok, that million of voters would decide the outcome. But in a lot of cities, including Pattaya, just a couple of thousand would decide the margin of the winner. And including my case, I studied Chiang Mai City Municipality, which Palang Pracharat won just 2,000 votes. And Pheu Thai and Cao Klai and Move Forward Party share the vote fragmented. Therefore, the Palang Pracharat won in Chiang Mai municipality. And people always say this is because of money. The power of money came back. When we said about policy-oriented, party-oriented, it's no longer true for every city or every district. We have to look into case by case. And I think if we use this method to look into each district, we can get the answer too. A lot of districts would be on strong candidates. A lot of districts would be strong movement for party politics. Some districts, money decided. I don't know how true, but some people told me that money was distributed in some suburb districts of Bangkok. I think this we have from now on, although it's too early to see the outcome or the pattern, but I think from now on, we can expect the politics of fragmented and small parties and non-party oriented, depend on the area, including frauds. And I think then people just some simple question: did some parties won in Bangkok last time a kind of fraud? Because it's just we could see one large party was swept away from a Bangkok scene, just only 2 seats in a Bangkok district. I think we are now in weak party system, and we can go on and on look into cases in provinces. And I think now come to strong candidate. I don't think, as Ajahn Pachak said, we would find any stronger candidate for Bangkok governor. And look at his profile. He did not only attend top schools in Bangkok, but he was top of the schools in Bangkok. In Thailand, I remember he was ที่หนึ่งประเทศไทย the first in Thai entrance examination to enter Chulalongkorn for engineering, while his brother got the highest mark for enter medical school. And I remember in high school year, he's a bit senior of mine. I think he and his brother won all the award of core subjects like physics, mathematics, and biology, and everything. And other people just wait for Thai language, a bit of English language, and good behavior award, something like that. But these 2 boys won all the core subjects, and so people just tired of giving them big hands. So this is how strong, and his profile, his family background, very, very really elite of Bangkok. And this kind of elite would have not been this resilient, despite of being cracked down by the military, being ruined. His dream of having rapid train, he spent a couple years, built a project perfectly, and then they just ruled it. That not necessarily for Thailand, but he still came back, came back to run for the governor. This is really a rare case of this high profile and elite background of the candidate. I like to quote his son. I like to suggest you to read. He published yesterday on the ThaiEnquirer.com. Growing up, my father was a role model for me, someone to model my life around. He taught me a great deal about determination, empathy, and being non-judgmental. He emphasized that it was important to work with everyone despite our differences. Of course, the family must, support their own family, but we rarely see, teenagers support their parents, right? Different generation. And this guy, he wrote very beautifully for his father, and I think that matter. Then I would like to go to the second point of, I think we started to feel a reconciliation. I would like to be too optimistic, but I think a sense of rational choice, rational decision making, a sense of a peaceful reconciliation, a sense of unity. Although this kind of word, unity, loving each other for the sake of nation, the terms had been put in the frame of right-wing nationalism. But this time we have the term unity, loving each other for the sake of the country, the nation, and love each other, whatever coordination, in the framework of democratic mind framework. So I think this is quite different. And I think we begin to see that. May I show the slide of the number of, probably Ajahn, I think we have to blame the election commission for not doing this for us. Someone on internet just last night post this. People have to do it by hand. I tried to do it. Then I just realized later that it was not 100% count. Look at the vote for Pheu Thai party. Since Pheu Thai didn't send any candidate, we could assume that the 100% go to Chhat, vote for Pheu Thai district council. And then Khao Kai moved forward. Khao Kai got 480,000, and half of it went to Chhat at Sudbury. So maybe half of move forward, 1/3, 1/4 of other conservative party, including very right-wing like Rak Krungthep group and Palang Pracharat party, Sakonki, who's not from Palang Pracharat, but we know that if people support Palang Pracharat, should vote for him. Also, some of the voters turned to vote Chhat. So this is a sense of sensible vote for strong candidate and a kind of reconciliation. I think this is good number to see, and we have to blame that election commission didn't do it. It was my excitement, so I went to see Kun Chat's rally in Samyan on the night of his victory, and he stated that I can work with anyone. But he began his speech by saying that on the exactly same day, May 22nd, my head was covered by black bag and my hand tied behind me, and I was led to somewhere I didn't know. He was arrested brutally by the military after the coup, soon after the coup. He began with that. And then later he said, from now on, I'm going to work with any shade of colors, any party. So this is how I think the reconciliation, according to the theory, local government would be the arena for reconciliation before the national reconciliation would begin. So I think this is the case of, I'm not saying totally reconciliation, but I think this is the case of interestingly leading to the beginning of reconciliation of both sides, if I may say. I can answer the question, or let's discuss later.
Ajahn Ringrat, thank you very much. Very rich, and if you look at I'm glad that you mentioned the Bangkok Assembly results, because the results you can see Pheu Thai down in the table, the 20 seats, there were 50 seats altogether. Move Forward 14, Democrat Party 9. But in the overall votes, overall count, the number one, number two was Pheu Thai and Move Forward. Even though the Move Forward candidate came number 3 in individual. So I just want to tease out the one point, couple of points, Ajahn, that you mentioned, your main 2 points. One is that, the parties and personalities. So you're saying, and Ajahn Prachak too a bit, that parties now have been weakened, and therefore the role of personalities will matter more. And the case in point would be Chachat himself, right? Extraordinary, exceptional individual. I mean, almost a legend. You mentioned, he's got top in Thailand. His brother also top in the medical faculty. All these awards. They have they're twins. They have a sister, 7 years older, family of 3, and then the father actually a police general. So he's not a traditional elite in that sense, but went to the best schools, the high school, the Jula school first, and then the Triamudom and so on. So exceptional. And then he went to MIT for his master's degree, unrelated to Einstein. And then he went to the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. So the credentials are just extraordinary, and the personality. But your point is that personalities will matter more. That's something to think about. Because when parties get weakened and weakened by dissolutions, then you don't have parties. And then when parties are strong, policies are strong, right? Like the Thai Rak Thai Party, for example. So if personalities are strong, then maybe policies not as strong. Yeah.
May I a little bit? Yeah. Thank you, Ajahn Thitinan. Not only personality, but I would say weak party would result in other thing that could be count for the electoral result, and in the case of Bangkok, strong personality. But in the case of a lot of municipalities and TAO elections from money, patronage, and also personal, some strong candidates. But a lot of places, so money play important role. And if you look at demographic data of each place, the area where there are a lot of young people, definitely Move Forward Party win. So young people who did not care about the billboard and everything, but they care about data that advertise in social media and online, digital media.
Okay, thank you. And your second point about the, a window of maybe compromise and reconciliation, right? So Chachat is kind of a rainbow winner. And if we can kind of extrapolate that to the general election, the national politics, and get away, move beyond these politics of hate and polarization, maybe that's a way towards some kind of compromise and reconciliation after 2 decades. Okay, now we have heard a lot already. It's a very rich discussion. Also, I'm glad you mentioned the Election Commission doing a poor job. We have to be very careful. They've done the funny business sometimes. And this time there seems to be no disqualification, but the last general election we had in March 2019, the Election Commission was very assertive together with Constitutional Court, so much that they were able to, I think, significantly determine the final outcome. คุณพนิกาครับ คุณพนิกา is used to be with the Future Forward Party and now the Future Forward kind of movement, and then because she's been banned because the party has been dissolved, talking about weakening parties. When parties get dissolved, of course they will be weaker, but yet the Move Forward Party has come up in place of the Future Forward Party. So even though it gets weaker, they try to rebuild. And I think Move Forward Party is, for a party that has been dissolved in 2020, within 2 years, they've done very well to come out as number 2 Bangkok Assembly, number 3 overall. And so welcome back. Last time you were here for the Thai politics panel, you had to leave early, and a lot of our audience members were a little bit disappointed because you had a court case. You know, if you would move forward, you have a lot of court cases. So, Kun Panika, what's your takeaway from this? And I just want to prompt you with one question. You know, Ajahn Prachak mentioned the fragmentation on the conservative side. So if you look at the Suchachavi Democrat Party number 2, Sakonti, you know, this is the kind of the personification or representative of the PDRC protests in 2013-14. Kun Rosana, you know, the old PAD, People's Alliance for Democracy. And then Asawin, of course, the police general incumbent. So 4 of them fragmented on the conservative side. But on the progressive side, also some fragmentation. Kun Chachat and Kun Virod, they both, to me, they want change and reform, but in different ways. So I think Kun Virod may be more hard-hitting. Do we conclude from this that it did not go down so well in Bangkok? That the hard-hitting message of reforming everything in a kind of you know, in a radical way, I have to say, fighting against the big business, the conglomerates, the monopolies, including, and he really kind of caught my attention when he said, you know, there was a question in the debate, one of the debates, what do you do with motorcades that cause inconvenience and, you know, for people? And Ajahn Chachat, he just said a very technocratic answer, like you have to unify the command and control and all of this. And Virod, he said, well, you know, Ajahn Chachat, you know, this question is about the royal motorcade. So I think it really, you know, strike at the heart of the matter. But with this result, do we say, can we conclude that it didn't, maybe too soon for that? What do you think?
Thank you, Thitinan. Good morning to all. And I have to confess that I am very nervous today because on the stage, 3 of my lecturers are here. So I'm that product. Ajahn Thitinan, Ajahn Pit, and Ajahn Viengrat were my lecturers since university school. So today is like an examination, and I'm getting nervous. So I'm trying to answer Ajahn Thitinan's question, and I hope to get a good point. And I have 3 key takeaways to elaborate, and I am trying to answer your question along the way. My 3 key takeaways are I'm going to convince you that Bangkok has not changed like everyone is trying to convince themselves. It is an election euphoria, post-election euphoria, right? Because everyone is being happy. Kun Chachat won big, so they say Bangkok has changed. No, Bangkok has not changed, and I am going to elaborate it. The second point is to what extent can this election reflect the national election, which is going to happen next year. And the third point, actually, it just came up after Ajahn Viengrat proposed a reconciliation thing. And I think my opinion is that it's not going to happen easily. And I have some concern, a very big concern about this reconciliation sentiment that is happening in Thai politics right now. So the first question, has Bangkok changed? They shift, they turn enlightened, politically enlightened? No. When you look at 2019 elections, the mathematics was this. Pheu Thai sent representative in just 19 districts because they had Thai Raksa Chat. The accident that happened was that Thai Raksa Chat was dissolved just a few weeks before the elections. So to be very honest with you, some votes that meant for Pheu Thai and Thai Raksa Chat went to Future Forward Party. That's what happened in elections 3 years ago. But when we try to look at it this way, the democracy vs democratic vs non-democratic camps in Bangkok in the general election in 2019, the mathematics, when we assume that Pheu Thai sent representative to all 30 districts. It will be Pheu Thai 30%, Future Forward Party 26%. So all in all, the Democratic camp 3 years ago in Bangkok, we had 56.7%. And non-democratic camp, the rest. So it's around 56 to 44, right? This year, Pheu Thai got 26.7%. They sent 48 districts. Accidents happened to the 2 districts. I think one was disqualified, another, I don't know what happened, but they sent 48 out of 50. And Pheu Thai got 26.7%. Move Forward Party got 21%. And Thai Sang Thai got 10.5%. So all in all, the Democratic camp in this year, we got 59%. From 3 years ago, it is 56.7. Today, we got 59. Bangkok has not changed. The change has happened already 3 years ago. We are having a chunk of Democratic affiliation in Bangkok like this, 60-40. And it reflects in last election in Laxi, by-election in Laxi early this year in January, the percentage was exactly like that, 60-40. Democratic camp vs non-democratic camp, Democratic 60, non-democratic 40. When you look at the votes Kun Chachat got, it went far beyond this ratio. It is 65 per, to be exact, 64 per 36, which means Kun Chachat is really a rainbow candidate. I call him a super candidate. He who cut across age group, occupation groups, political affiliation groups. That's why he got huge votes, 1.4 million, a breaking record for Bangkok elections, because everyone just loved him. Strong charisma, strong personalities, very high qualifications, or I will not elaborate on that because everyone know that already. But to answer the second question, Bangkok election will not 100% reflect the election that's going to happen next year, because I don't like to say this, but it's true, because Kun Chachat is very unique. When you say something is very unique in each election, is like irresponsible, because you will not be able to predict, calculate, or analyze anything. But we have to confess that Kun Chachat is really unique, and a persona like him will not be easily found in the next election. When you look at each party's candidate for prime ministership, you cannot have anyone like Kun Chachat. And Kun Chachat will not resign from Bangkok governor to be anyone's candidate for prime minister. That's for sure, 100%, 120% for sure. So what has happened in Bangkok, a super candidate who won across all groups, will not happen in the next election. And to answer the third question, reconciliation sentiment, is it going to happen in the general election next year? I think it is quite problematic. I am very happy that Kun Chachat won. I voted for Kun Biro. That is very, very obvious. But Kun Chachat will be a good governor for everyone. We can know that. But what I am concerned was that in the past campaign, to answer your question, Ajahn Thitinan, we have witnessed a comparison between depoliticized and very politicized campaign. Depoliticized campaign of Kun Chachat and very politicized, polarizing campaign of Kun Virod, and that was intentional. I think the Move Forward Party has thought through it, that it would be a mistake to send a very similar candidate to Kun Chachat to try to win against him. So they were trying to send someone very different and use exactly opposite approach for the campaign. And I think that was a wise decision. And the result of the campaign was not a mistake for Move Forward Party, but it was because Kun Chachat was really a strong candidate. You cannot fight with him. Just that after 2.5 years of running campaign very diligently, very neatly, with creativity and all, it's really hard for anyone to win over him. And what I am concerned was just this. I don't think it's unintentional. I think it's intentional that Kun Chachat tried to depoliticize his campaign by running as independent candidate, by focusing more on work, and policies, 200 policies, and that create a happy sentiment, a feel-good sentiment, and he is becoming a feel-good candidate and feel-good governor. And is that a good thing? Yes, it is a good thing, but in a way, and that's the difference between Move Forward Party and Kun Chachat, I think, and between me and Kun Chachat. And Bangkokers tend to be convinced by Kun Chachat more. Is his point, and very important point. Bangkok or local elections, Bangkok or local politics has nothing to do with national politics. During the campaign, Kun Virod and Move Forward Party was challenged by this sentiment. Your policies, your promises were too big for local elections, for Bangkok governors to achieve that. Many of the promises were thought through, and it could be done by the law, according to the law. But Bangkokers just won't believe that it could be done because it has never been done before in the past 38 years of elected governor of Bangkok. And Kun Chachat even made them believe that way. Bangkok governors has limited power and has limited position. Let's focus more on day-to-day basis of work rather than engaging in national politics and ideological politics. It's not true or false. It's not who is true, who is false, who is right, who is wrong. But it's different way of interpreting and thinking about local politics. For us, Future Forward Party and also Move Forward Party, we believe that local politics has strong connections to national politics. And we have to upgrade local executive to do more and encourage them to do more. And sometimes even walk through the thin line, challenge some law, and try to push for more power to do things for the people. But Kun Chachat made people believe that this is enough. You manage the canals, the garbage, the park, and the traffic, and the flood, and that will be it. We are happy with that. And yes, we are happy. We are happy that Bangkok will have better parks and canals and that less busy traffic. But is that really enough? And it also, I don't know, in the next election, it might create and encourage this very sentiment. Let's just focus more on economics. Let's just focus more on what people are facing in their daily life. Let's stop talking ideological politics and political cases, people who are in jail right now. I am afraid that Kun Chacha's big victory in Bangkok election is going to affect at least voters in Bangkok to tend to think that way more. And I will be very happy if I'm wrong. But I don't know, next year, maybe after a year, and Kun Chacha does a very good job, which is very likely, people will tend to think more that way, depoliticize politics, and it will add up to the problem Ajahn Viranrat mentioned. Strong personalities, weak parties. We are going to face that in the next election. Very weak party system. And in the countryside, rural areas with strong political dynasty, people will go back to politics 80s fashion. They just choose a strong man, a strong family, and not focus anymore on policies and ideologies. That's a trend that undermines democracy, I think, and I wish it would not happen.
Good. Thank you very much, Kun Panika. So your concern would be that, not just progress for Bangkok and efficiency for Bangkok administration, but what we need and we do not overlook is the structural reform for Thailand, right? So the Thailand issue is maybe overwhelmed or overshadowed by the Chachat victory. And you mentioned the word unique. I said one of a kind, but he is a bit unique, right? So, and his everything about him, his credentials, his technocratic expertise, I think also the reflection, maybe the proof of his uniqueness is that he ran as an independent, not really Pheu Thai, even though there's, people draw association, but he was his own man from the beginning, and he declares candidacy like over 2 years ago, before all of this was even on the line. You also mentioned about the voting patterns in Bangkok, and that's a very good point, by the way, very good insight. It hasn't changed from 2019. So it's 60-40 roughly. And then if you extrapolate that, maybe beyond Bangkok, so, for our audience members, also I wanted just to say to audience members online, virtual, that questions and comments are welcome, floor is opened. If you extrapolate this to the national voting pattern, for our audience members who may not have been in Thailand a long time, the pattern has been 60-40, 65-35, majority, minority. And then when the vote happens, the majority wins, and then eventually the minority takes over. We've had that 3 times. Right? In 2006, 2008 in December, 2014, May 2014. And that's what we still have now. So that says a lot. And I don't know if it will be a 4th time when the minority takes over again. But that's another insight. Thank you very much for that. I think the depoliticization is a very good point about Chachat. He's not been politicized at all, and that for example, he's not attacked anyone. So it's been a very constructive kind of platform. I'll just make one note. Talking about window of opportunity, window of compromise. Day after election, first thing Chachat did was go for a run in Lumpini Park. He's a runner. If you want to meet him, go run in Lumpini Park or go walk, and just go walk and be present at about 5:30 in the morning, and you'll see him. He's out and about. So that's what first thing he did after the election. And then the day after, the first day of work, gets to work right away. He was with Kun Virod, looking after the canals, and so the Bangkok issues again, not national issues, but they can work together from different party lines. So I thought that was very refreshing in a way. Now, thank you very much, Ajahn Pit, Ajahn Nirmon, for your patience. We're coming down to you as the most kind of what to do for Chachat. But Ajahn Pit, thank you for waiting for your turn. One of the refreshing things I saw in this election, And since we haven't had it for almost a decade, there have been a lot of changes. I don't watch television anymore, the normal television. I think a lot of people don't do that anymore. We used to get our news feed from the national regular TV news. But now we have a lot of new media platforms, and they've made a big difference. The runaway media platform for this election, Bangkok, for the debates, was the Standard. They did this half-day debates between and among the different candidates. But other than the Standard, there's also, Ajahn Pitt, by the way. We have 3 from Juฬา, 1 from Thammasat, thankfully, and then 1 from Move Forward, and Ajahn Niramon from a different faculty, but yet within Juฬา. Ajahn Pitt is the head of the government department at our faculty, and he also is a media analyst, anchor person in his own right with Voice TV, another new media platform. So there's 101, there's Thai Inquirer, the Standard, you name it, the Matter. So if you want to read news in Thailand these days, the vernacular conventional news platforms are losing out. So maybe Ajahn Pitt, for your own assessment of what's happened. I know you have some slides. Okay, you have 10 minutes, Ajahn, go ahead.
So let me start with the media question, and then if I have the rest of the time, I covered some of the issue that I want to exchange. But I also work as a media, but actually my popular program in the old time was co-hosted by Panika. So we work together. This is kind of a traditional campaign, right? So you see the billboard, right? And the billboard, child billboard can turn into the back like this, and it's very controversial now. He probably subjected to this disqualification. Anyway, so you have a different type of a campaign, right? So some of them are the campaign of the Bangkok governor, and this one is a rising one, the Rwam Thai United, with the pro-pet policy. สัตว์ทุกตัวต้องได้รับการดูแล take care all of the pets. So different type of the old school kind of campaign, and here is the new trend of the campaign, the debates. The debates is the key campaign now, and there's a lot of controversials about campaign the debates. This is just part of the list that I have, all online debates. It's probably like more than 30 or even like 50 campaigns, 50 debates, and it's too much. Right? Some of the candidates kind of very sick about it, right? Because the debate itself is so biased. It's actually serve the fantasy of the middle class. See this? Kind of like having a dinner with the candidate, only selected one, only the top one. Okay. The other one is kind of bluffing, like, okay, you have dinner with each candidate, right? So another popular host invited all of the top candidates to eat together. Okay. And that's a kind of a game show. Okay. It's a kind of a game show, like the Standard that Ajahn Thitinan mentioned.
Can I have 10 seconds? I will speak as a representative of the media. The dinner thing was just they want to put the mask off the candidate's face. So that's why they have this dinner program. Because according to the law, you cannot have this mask off. And people want to see the faces of the candidates.
Yeah.
That's the truth. I spoke with the media.
But there's a controversy about it because some of them, their nature is not like very good at debates, right? And people know that Virod came from a debate club. and he did very well in the parliamentary debate. Right? Unlike Chachan, right? Chachan, he's kind of professor guy. He couldn't answer anything in like 3 minutes. Right? and he just keeps sitting and thinking. But anyway, at the very end, right, people thought that Virod is gonna win more, right, because he's so popular in the debate. But finally, Virod didn't perform very well in terms of the voting. However, the move forward, I think Virod actually helped out a lot of the move forward in terms of the media personality and the media coverage. And you will see that there was like kind of a very less billboard of the move forward Bangkok councillor compare with other Bangkok councillor billboard, right? And if you really look at the overall number of the Bangkok councillor, you see that I think this is probably more real than looking at the voting result of the Bangkok governor, because Chachat is kind of a rainbow guy, right? But if you look at the move forward one, right, they won 14 seats, and actually for their 14 seats, it's actually it's like half of, slightly much more than half of what they got last time for the general election. So this is the general election. Okay, they got popular, but anyway, we have to take into account that around 10 constituency were kind of Thai Raksa Chat vote too, and the national constituency is only 30. Bangkok constituency is 50, right? So if you look at this is the Bangkok general election. Okay, the Democrat is kind of exactly the same, right? They got 15.3, right? They didn't have a seat, but their stronghold is 15.3, right? 400,000. Look at the Bangkok governor. The Democrat got 9%, right? Out of 15. But anyway, if you really look at the Bangkok councillor, right? This is from the same number that Ajahn Viengrat got, but I use it as a pie chart. The Democrat is back to 15%. So the Democrat is actually kind of stay still, right? But then translated into 9 seats. And surprisingly, like Thai Sang Thai, which kind of split out from Pheu Thai, right? Sudarat party. Sudarat got 10%. But 10% of Sudarat, actually, she only won two districts, right? 2 ket. And those 2 ket actually is the one that deflect from the Democrat. Both of them came from the Democrat. Okay, so look at this one. You see, the purple one, right? That is Thai Sang Thai, but it's 10% only for 2, right? So my last point for this round is the landslide of Pheu Thai, right? I don't think so, Pheu Thai, but Pheu Thai is perform very well in terms of having the seat. The popular vote is okay. This time Pheu Thai got 26%, right? Last time Pheu Thai got 19.5%. But well, they couldn't count their vote in like almost 10 districts, right? But if you look at the number, Pheu Thai got 600,000, right? Which is the same that they got for last time, right? Nothing much different. Okay, so it's and local politics is not the same like national politics in a certain way too นะครับอันนี้เอาลงได้นะฮะเอาลงได้แล้ว because the Bangkok councillor they change the party very often They change the party very often. Right? Many, and there's kind of a mobility of them since the general election. 5 of the constituency, actually they move from the Bangkok councillor into the MP. Right? And this time you will see that because the junta actually kind of dissolve the lower council of Bangkok, the district council. So there's a lot of people who are out of job for being the district councillor. So they're trying to move up into the Bangkok councillor. And my last point is this: I don't think it's kind of possible for Chacha to be in the national election game. The nature of urban politics and the nature of national politics is not the same. I mean, the nature of national politics is still in the confrontational mode, in the hard politics mode, like what Panika said, right? But for urban politics, okay, on the one side is probably kind of patronage, right? Which Bangkok is still a big patronage system if you look at the district in Bangkok. Not only in the suburb, right? Hard in the city. If you get into Panakorn, Pampap, Sampantawong, they all family politics, right? Yeah, and it's actually strong community, weak party. Not even like strong leader, it's a strong community because it's actually who actually can reach that community, right? But now what's moving is the urban politics is gonna be based on coalition mode. And it's happened in many places in the world. Right? Urban politics is a coalition mode, not confrontational. It doesn't mean that it's a depoliticized. It's another form of politics, but it's subjected to so many conditions that you can make a coalition. But the coalition is not an easy one, and it can break down easily too. Okay, let me end my talk this round. Thank you.
You're saying that there are limitations to extrapolate these results for the national politics, right? Local, not so national. I also want to just mention the images you put up from the media. These are all new media. So we don't, in 1990s, they were mostly TV based, television based, but now it's really kind of internet based. That's a good trend, right, Ajahn? The new media.
What I'm worried is we have so many media, but the message and what they're interested in is so limited. As I said, they love to have dinner with the candidate, and the first thing they really want most is to show that they have power, that they can invite the candidate, right? And some candidates really want to reach out the community, like Chacha. Because he know that he's new. Right? He didn't send the Bangkok councillor in his own team, right? And he didn't have the party machine, right? So he need to build up. Every day he need to build up his tie with the community. That's why he loves to actually visit community, right? Having a lot of debate means he need to cancel the trip to the community, right? And he need to come to the debate, right? And he didn't perform well. However, it seemed like he performed well because many people like the way he performed too. So politics is so performative, right? Some people love Vilod, right? But in the end, it's kind of another kind of metaphor is that we vote Bangkok governor and Bangkok councillor like the way we've been vaccinated. We have a mixed formula, right? The same, like, so we like a lot of future forward and move forward supporter, right? Finally vote for Chat, but they vote for move forward Bangkok councillor. Okay, so it's kind of that represent the mixed vaccine.
Thank you. Thank you, Ajahn.
If I may, 20 seconds. I totally disagree with Ajahn Pete on the debate. Too many debates has never happened. We love debate not because I was from the debate club of Chulalongkorn University, but because it was free. And because we don't have that much money to spend on the billboards and election materials. So debate is a free way to get to the heart of the people and present our policy. So the more debates, the more we get to the people for free.
Yeah, that's why we all went to every debate, you see.
Okay.
That's why another group like Aswin didn't like the debate.
Because it's free.
Yeah, but for Aswin, he's an incumbent, right? So all the debate is about his problem, right? That's
so-
why he kind of didn't want to go to the debate.
Actually, initially he did, but then he was the only one who really changed his strategy. After a while,
And he sent his son.
no
instead.
more debate because he didn't do so well. I'll just leave. I'll come to Ajahn Nirmon now, and please, if you have questions, comments, we'll have some time left for the floor and also for our audience members online. There's a question now from Ajahn Aim Sin Peng from Australia in Sydney. She's asking, would you say that at the district level, that voting pattern was really personalistic? So maybe I'll come to Ajahn Ringrat later on, but I'll just put that on the table. Now we come to our last speaker. Thank you very much, Ajahn Nirmon and Serisakun, for your patience. And Ajahn Nirmon is the first time speaker here, so welcome, warm welcome. Director of the Urban Design and Development Center, UDDC. But she's also lectured assistant professor at the Department of Urban and Regional Planning, Faculty of Architecture here on campus. Ajahn Nirmon, we've heard a lot about politics and national politics, local politics, and what to make of it. But at the end of the day, now we have a new governor, Governor Ajahn Chachad Sithipan. What are his most daunting and immediate challenges and tasks ahead, in your view, knowing what you know about urban planning in Bangkok?
A lot. Hi, สวัสดีค่ะ and thank you for having me here. ไม่ดังป่ะ Is it okay? ได้ไหมคะได้ and it's better. Sorry if you noticed that I was yawning many times. It's very interesting and very eye-opening, but I slept very few hours last night. This is the reason, so apologize. So I think what I'm going to share here is purely from outsider. Like I'm from urban planning, the only urban planner here. And last night I talked with my husband through Skype, who is in France, and he asked me to analyze the local and national politics, and I try. And seems he didn't satisfy, so he asked me to send a clever analysis of this subject, so I know what to send today. So I think from the 1.5 million vote for Ajahn Chachad from all districts shows that Bangkokians have a very high expectation of Ajahn Chachad, so his responses must be fast. But thanks to the question from Ajahn Thitinan, I think yes, I think it's not very easy. It's not very easy task. Just go back to what Ajahn Prajak have given to us about his policies. One of his outstanding policies proposed by Ajahn Chachad is livable for all, livable city for all. You heard a lot of his keywords, for example, districts, district level, neighborhood level, เส้นเลือดฝอย or capillaries, walkability, small green spaces, this kind of idea, small is beautiful kind of idea with high people participation. So I would say it's not really a livable city for all, but he focused more on a livable neighborhood for all. He really focused on the district and neighborhood level. So it means that BMA needs to decentralize a lot of power and resources to this level, which I think very challenging for him. Decision making power and also resources. I would like to give you two overview pictures. I didn't know that he can show the slides because I have a lot too, but anyway, so I will try. So if you look at the current situation in Bangkok, according to our study from UDDC, we study urban observatory and engagement projects. So we try to understand what are the pain points of people in this city. We got like 20 pain points, but I will show you just only 4 pain points. The first is about the access to the public health. And we learned it by heart through the pandemic situation. I think roughly 40% of this city, which is equivalent size of the province, 40% cannot access to the public health services in their district because it highly concentrated in the inner city area. For example, like Payathai district have like 9 hospitals, like at the national hospital. And we also calculate that if you have a heart attack, there are 55% of the area in this city that maybe you cannot survive because you cannot go to the nearest hospital in time. So this is the first pain point. And the second pain point is about, okay, it's not about the, a curing measure facility like hospital, but preventive facility like parks. In Bangkok, okay, I'm going to show you this standard. WHO, World Health Organization, people quote it all the time, gives the standard, for example, like 9 square meters per capita. In Bangkok, there are many scenarios, but the worst scenario, the harsh calculation that we calculate, we discovered that Bangkok has only 2.3 green space per capita, 2.3 square meter per capita. And the nearest distance that wherever you live in this city, if you would like to go to the nearest park, it will take averagely 4.5 kilometers, which is unwalkable. Actually, the WHO also gives another standard. For example, the parks must be able to access at the district level, like 300 to 500 meters, in order to allow like a fragile or, limited group of people, elderly or whatever, can access to the park. So this is the second pain point. And the third pain point is walkability. Ajahn Chachat mentioned all the time for 2 years that he dreamed to make this city to be more walkable, especially first mile, last mile, like from your home to the transit, from the transit to your destination must be walkable. Otherwise, people wouldn't drop their cars in their home and change to use public transit. And we invest like 1 million I don't know how to say 1 ล้านล้านบาท in English 1 trillion from public money of this country, it would be more beneficial for all if people use more public transit. But yes, so this is his dream and also appear in his campaign. But according to our study, only 10%, okay, 11% of this city, you can live without car because everything, I mean, the destination in the daily life located within the walkable distance, 800 meters, according to our survey. The place to study, to work, to do your shopping, to do your errands, to transit, to recreate. This is a 6th type of the daily destination. Only 11% that you can live without car. This is, I'm saying about you can walk, but the quality of the walking environment is another thing. So this is the third pain point. And the last pain point, we talk all the time about the knowledge-based economy, society. But in this city, about 65%, you cannot access to any learning spaces in your district. For example, if you live in the suburban area like Nong Jok, if you would like to, how to say, equip yourself with the knowledge of arts, you have to, yes, travel like 30 kilometers from and no public transit to BACC here in this district. This district, by the way, is has the largest, the highest concentration of the learning space in this city, means in this country. So, so this is for pain points. But and this is an overview of the existing condition that Ajahn Chachat need to tackle if he would like to deliver a livable neighborhood for all to the citizen. But if you look at how BMA manage, I think it's very difficult. But I fully support him to do so. If you look back in the history of how BMA has been managed, can I say the name of political party? It has been governed by the Democrat Party, which where the power had been highly centralized and fragmented. This is the nature of like Thai state. All the important decisions have been made at the city hall. I work with a lot of BMA and also with another big city. People in Chiang Mai said, "Oh, you're so lucky, like you can elect your own governor." But in practice, we are equal. The sidewalk in Chiang Mai always decided by กรมโยธาธิการและผังเมือง Ministry of Interior in Bangkok, and the sidewalk in my district also decided by the city hall. What's the difference? So I think this is one of the challenging things that Ajahn Chachat need to, if quote คุณช่อ reform. I mean, administrative regulation, which is a hindrance of all this, how to say, coordination with the area-based and people-first kind of idea. And also how you can decentralize all the resources to the district level. Actually, I influenced a lot by Ajahn Pete. I work with him a lot. So I like the way he emphasized the importance of แผนพัฒนาพื้นที่ how to say it's kind of the development plan for the area. I don't want to say the district because it comes with I mean the sense of yes administration. I would say it's like in your country you have like a district plan, neighborhood plan, or the specific area plan. We need to have that because what we have until now is a comprehensive city plan which cover 1,500 square meter or with how to say a very big picture on the infrastructure investment, density, public safety and sanitation, but nothing has been addressed about the quality of the living environment. How about your sidewalk, or do you want a green space in your district, or the สนามเด็กเล่น children playground, something like that. We have actually BMA has a power according to the City Planning Act 2518 yes 1975 when I was born. Yes, but Bangkok BMA never use it because it has to be how to say ผ่านสภา it has to be ผ่านสภา approved at the parliament. Yeah, สภาเลยค่ะ have to be an act like the act พรบ but now with the amendment of the City Planning Act, if you are not going to do a land appropriation, you can just make the approval at the ministry level. So this is a chance to really decentralize and make the local plan or the development plan at the neighborhood level, which contain the vision, the dreams, and I mean the needs of the people who live there to be, how to say, to be enact like Pitt always quoted as a local institution. This never happened in Bangkok. Never happened in Bangkok. So as BMA never utilized this power, I mean city planning law to prepare the area, the specific area plan. So it's an opportunity lost for us to really directly participate in the discussion, in the making the decision what we want this district to be in the future. This is and everybody just live like okay individually, and whatever happen, you just close your eyes, you just live your day. Because if you go to district office, they will say, it's not our job. We don't have the authority. So I think this is a mentality of Bangkok people. And I think as Pete suggests about this as a local institution, this is what Ajahn Chachat should try to push forward. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ajahn. We'll come back to you. When I come back to you, I just wanted to ask you later a bit about, very high expectations on Ajahn Chachat now. And the BMA is very poorly run, a lot of corruption, inefficiency. I think we can kind of probably agree that he knows what he's doing, but whether he can get it done is something else. We'll come back. Now, I just want to open the floor for questions, comments from anyone if you're interested. Microphone is up here. There's already a question from the audience online, John Aim, asking whether at the district level there has been some, paternalistic voting patterns. So let me come around. I'm just going to add 5 minutes to our forum. We had a bit of a late start, so we have about 12 minutes left. We'll go to about 9:35. This coming down from Ajahn Pachak now. Ajahn, John Aim already asked a question about paternalism. We didn't hear a lot about vote buying and fraud, and it's Bangkok. For the general election, I think we have been marred by, the fraud and vote buying and all of that. So looking forward from our discussion today, it appears that maybe the chat phenomenon is chat in Bangkok, not so much to extrapolate for the general election. So up to an extent, maybe it's a kind of a vote against status quo. I think maybe that's a safe conclusion. Police General Swin didn't do well. And altogether, if you add up the numbers, the candidates for change and reform won big, almost 65%, including Chachat, Virod, and also Sita a bit. So maybe this is a kind of a trend going into the general election. Maybe if it's a vote against status quo, vote for change and reform, and there's a question about what kind of change and how fast should it be. I think from what Kun Panika said about Chachat, the one challenge and also maybe one danger is to focus so much on Bangkok and Chachat and forget all the elephants in Thailand. Thailand has a lot of elephants. So Ajahn Pachak, this last couple of minutes of your remarks, reflections, heading towards the general election, you think it will take place on time, maybe a little bit earlier? And then what might we expect, broadly speaking?
Thank you. Yes, I think national politics and national electoral competitions are more complex than the election that we observe in Bangkok. And other factors will play a role. Factors that we haven't seen much in the Bangkok election. Vote buying generally is not a problem, phenomenon in Bangkok. Dark influence, even though there's a certain political families in Bangkok that Ajahn Pit mentions, but the way that they operate in that campaign to gain vote is different from political dynasty in the provincial areas. So in this sense, Bangkok elections, what we conclude about this election, that's why I remind everyone that we cannot, think that the victory of both Pheu Thai and Move Forward Party will translate to, their emphatic, resounding victory at the national elections, right? There are other players that we haven't discussed yet, right? When you talk about national elections, monarchy, military, constitutional court, and ideological conflict will play important role. So I kind of agree with Kun Panika. Now many people talk about politics of moderation. Many commentators, columnists, this is a sign of politics of moderation. No, too soon. And the deeply polarized country like Thailand, cannot change overnight by one winning candidate, by one local election. I think polarization still entrenched. Yeah. But people like Chachat, if we can find, we say that he's unique, right? But interestingly, if you can have this kind of figures at the national elections, they can play a role. They can play a certain role, right? Personality, political campaign, the way that he ran, if it can be repeated at the national election, whatever how hard it is, but if it can be repeated, I think, that we can hope for the politics of moderation.
And also maybe politics of compromise and reconciliation. One Ajahn Vingrata come down this way. One party not represented in Bangkok was Phum Chai Thai. Right? Looking at the general election, there will be most likely some kind of coalition. But if we see patterns emerging now, Pheu Thai fielding strongly in Bangkok, but also they won the last election as well as the largest winning party. Move Forward came, Future Forward at the time was the third largest. So it's a possible kind of a coalition making in the offing, possibly on the reform progressive side, if the equation kind of gels. Ajahn Vingrat will come down this way. Ajahn M, she had a question about the district level paternalistic.
Okay. Thank you, Ajahn Thitinan, and thank you, Ajahn Aim, for asking this question. I think I will still emphasize on weak party system. I think we now have to look into the larger framework of weak party system and beginning of weak polarization. I would say, yes, it's deep polarization for the past 1.5 decades, but I could sense that there are more sensible extreme right wing coming to moderation, and there are more extreme left wing also coming to the moderation. So I think this is the beginning of weakening polarization and color-coded politics. Then other things matter. Other things mean personalism, money, patronage, dynasty. It depends. Some province didn't have dynasty, so dynasty politics won't play important role in election. And vocalist system, there is a peculiar part of vocalist system or Hua Kanan. Once the election didn't go on regularly, the vocalist system is also weakening. So what is the major factor that decide in small district? I think it would come down to money. Although the money was not reported in Bangkok this time, but I heard in some district money was distributed from all sorts of parties. I think money will decide in next election, but it couldn't be one pattern. So in some dynasty, some strong candidate, and also like Kun Panika also mentioned with me about in electoral unit where people live in condominium and people live in single member family type. These people tend to vote for Move Forward party. And I think if you come down into that particular district, the ideology also matters in some young generation area. So that I still think this is the pattern in the larger picture. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ajahn. And I think it's worth mentioning and reminding that the money politics happens on all sides. So, this thing about the money politics happening during elections and so on, under military regime also, we've seen money politics as well. Kun Panika, from what we've seen today, for me, for the general election, it's crucial, it's vital to have a civilian-led, civilian-backed government in order to rescue Thailand from this slump. For that to happen, there has to be a coalition making that on the civilian side, not the not on the Palang Pracharat side. Do you think that's possible with Chat being out in the canals with Virod?
I just spoke with Ajahn Pit, and we kind of agree that the next general elections, and I agree with Ajahn Prajak that it will be still very polarizing in a good way, because it will be polarizing not into two polars but three: the red, the orange, and the blood blue. The conservative. Which color? Green, blue. The three groups will compete, and I still think that the competition will be very tough, but in a more moderate way. What does it mean? It will be very polarizing and a very tough competition, but no one will dare to have anything too radical. And too radical, I didn't mean we are not going to be very moderate because it will be a kind of betrayal to our voters and our supporters. But I think all parties, including the conservative parties, they saw in the two elections this year, in the Laksi by-elections and the Bangkok governor's elections, that too radical stances will not be fruitful in the battleground of the elections. People tend to find a more moderate way. So the challenges for the political parties are how to find a moderate way to compete with each other. Because when you have like 10 candidates and everyone is trying to be moderate, they cannot avoid being very similar, right? So it will be polarizing, it will be more moderate. And the cutting point and winning point will be how to be differentiate, how to be different, how you differentiate yourself in your party from other parties by still proposing a moderate, practical, creative, and positive way of doing politics. And I think that is a challenge for Move Forward Party, how to differentiate themselves from Thai Sang Thai and Pheu Thai Party. But that will be good. That's why I think it's polarizing in a good way, because people will have more choices and they will choose the right color. I love to say this. You choose parties just like you choose your foundation. The true shade, that is true to your skin. The most similar party to your skin, that's it. So the more parties, the more you have the right foundation, right? And you will be beautiful. So in the next election, it will be like that. Each parties will be different and people will choose what they like, what they want. And after the competition finish, it's very natural and very, it's unavoidable for political parties in elections to compete with each other. After the election finish, they will try to find a way to form a coalition and form a government and work together. That's it. So I think there's no point talking about strategic wars because it's proven not true in at least the two elections this year.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think the Cha-Cha triumph partly reflects it's a statement in a way that people maybe are sick and tired of the polarization as well. We talk about colors. So, on the one hand, right hand, yellow and green and maybe bluish, and then on the left, orange and red. But Ajahn Pit, we haven't talked about demographics and ages, not just colors, but ages, young people. And this is a kind of a different column. I haven't seen the demographic breakdown of the votes for Bangkok. But your last words from you, just for a minute. What's your reflection heading to the general election? What can we anticipate?
I think if I can talk about the connection between the Bangkok local election and the national general election is the victory of Ajahn Chadchad proved that he can win across the generation, right? I think that's kind of a fair statement. But what I'm thinking is that there is a crisis. The victory of Chadchad also reflects the crisis of leadership of both sides, meaning for the national election, right? On the one hand, you have a rainbow Chadchad, and the other one you have a nightmare Prayut, right? And it's kind of a stalemate too, right? Because the rest, right, stuck, right? You couldn't vote for Thanathorn for the next 8 years, right? Thaksin is abroad, right? And you don't see any new leadership from each party at all. Somkit, I think he's dead already politically, right? So in the less than 1 year, right? Who's gonna be the candidate of the prime minister, and what is the mode of politics, right? Probably it's not moderation or very strong confrontation, but we don't know. The conservative is so frustrated as well, right? That's why now you have a shade from Rotana, right? The old yellow, from Sakonti that is rising. At least he unite the young generation and the PDRC, right? And you have Aswin, very rocketick, loyal to Prayut, right? And then you have Suchachawi, which also kind of a younger generation, a key guy, right? But a bit pro regime, right? But they have a lot, but they don't have the prime minister type, right? And not to mention that the leadership above, right? That's still in question, right? So I think this is kind of a key issue for the next election. Some people say, okay, if you don't have Prayut, who else? And also, Chacha is not going to be able to work in a party system as well, right? And how can Chacha deal with the whole party system, especially outside the urban area, right? It's not easy.
Okay, thank you very much, Ajahn. Ajahn Niramon, quick last word from you. So I think we kind of know that maybe Chacha knows what he's doing. To what extent can he get the job done? Are we going to have a better Bangkok next year, year after? Just a quick last word from what you know.
Yes, I hope he can do it. And as Ajahn Titinan just mentioned, the news that he already did a survey with คุณลืมชื่อ คุณวิโรจน์ from Move Forward party. So it shows how to say a good signal that at least the collaboration between different agent or party is already being formulated. And actually it's not because of him, but because of how to say the master plan for the strategic budget kind of thing that you did with Ajahn Tawida, I believe. So this is I think this is a good opportunity or a good mechanism that can shift the how to say the resource or the decision making power at the department or the city hall to the area, more area based oriented, that how to say they encourage people to propose the development plan from bottom up. And the department has a job to how to say to allocate the budget how to say collaboratively in order to implement that. I think this is maybe a good way to help Ajahn Chacha. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think fair to say that high expectations, maybe he likely knows what to do, but how much to get done. He's certainly off to a promising start, right? And since things have been so bad, it can only be better probably. So even if he gets half of what he wants to get done, that'll be a lot for Bangkok. I'm sorry we went over time a little bit. Thank you, Ajahn Pachak, Ajahn Viengrat, Kun Chaw, Kun Panika, Ajahn Pit, and Ajahn Niramon. Thank you for joining us today. We're out of time. Thanks very much to our audience online as well. Thank you.